Hi, my name is Alexander C. My thesis project, Rear Window, is a site-specific interactive multimedia installation. It takes its shape as an elongated white room structure with a window-like opening at eye level and a white door at the far end. Upon peering through, first thing you'll notice are 13 screens broadcasting your likeness across projectors, computer monitors, TVs, laptops, tablets, and phones. The door doesn't reveal itself until the viewer turns around the corner after that initial encounter with the window. On the door is a reverse peephole, also installed at eye level, and a doorknob that remains locked. The peephole provides another vantage point for the visitor to spy on others who are at the rear window. The screens are connected to 11 cameras scattered and camouflaged in the room. The webcams, camcorders, and digital cameras are pointing at the visitor, capturing in real time whatever is happening directly outside of the window. Besides the camera mechanism, the room is filled with all types of media content and narrative objects. Most prominently are the heaps of CDs, DVDs, vinyls, newspapers, magazines, stacking exceedingly higher the closer to the rear window. Much like a movie set, this mise-en-scene provides the audience with narrative cues suggesting living habits built around an obsession with media and AV devices. In a nutshell, Rear Window provides a threefold spectatorial experience. The visitor looks in through the window to see the absent inhabitant of the room monitoring them looking at themselves on the screens. Without realizing, another visitor could be actually spying on them through the peephole. I had the idea for this piece for about a year. I designed the dimension of this iteration site-specifically for my Studio 924. Extending from two existing walls, I've hand-built this room structure and capped it with a ceiling. Drawing from my background in architecture, carpentry, and construction, the orientation of the room is specifically designed with the visitor's flow in mind to maximize its impact. As soon as the viewer looks in towards the room, a multitude of their likeness will be dissected, streamed, and plastered all over the room. As they turn their gaze away, their faces altogether disappear. The room moves on to project and iconify the face of the next curious visitor, like a well-oiled engine. On one hand, it alludes to the relentless swiping, scrolling, and increasingly short attention span from the tech users, as well as the media and entertainment industries. They have adapted to the public's appetite for the new, the now, and the next by generating an excess of splashy news headlines and breakout stars that are short-lived, topical, and disposable. On the other hand, Rear Window accentuates the act of looking. The triple dance of the gazes is my homage to Alfred Hitchcock, the best at suspense. I've borrowed the title of my work from his 1954 thriller. Rear Window, the movie, stars James Stewart as Albie Jeffries, a housebound photojournalist recovering from a foot surgery. Out of boredom, he took on the hobby of peering into his neighbor's apartments with his telelens camera and accidentally caught a crime taking place. Besides sharing the name and the theme of voyeurism and scopophilia, I admire the way Hitchcock constructed narrative arcs that manipulate and challenge his audience psychologically. The tension and emotional roller coaster undergo by the protagonist in his movies could always permeate across the fourth wall and leave a lasting impression for days after leaving the movie theater. Similarly, the goal with my Rear Window is to undermine the passivity of spectatorship through the feeling of unease. The satisfaction of voyeurism are put under the microscope, and curiosity, even nosiness, is turned into the spectacle itself. As the question of, should I keep on looking or shouldn't I, arises, it becomes a battle between our own vanity and self-consciousness. In the post-internet context, the tight apartment block where Albie Jeffrey lives shares much resemblance to our own networked culture. Both are sites for a plethora of voyeuristic glances and exhibitionist behaviors to be indulged and exercised at any given time. Surveillance in 2021 no longer means a couple of street cameras around the corner. It's the systemic extraction, prediction, and trading of behavioral data, a form of capitalism that exploits them as means to others' commercial ends. Especially during this pandemic, we stare at ourselves on a webcam all day. We already know our smartphones listen to every conversation we have, online and offline. We've seen how social media and search engines know us better than we do. We've even accepted our online doppelgangers as part of our identity. This pixelated, cloud-stored, visually curated, and enhanced version of ourselves. None of that has stopped us from engaging with these platforms and devices. To me, it's almost like a kind of sadomasochism or Stockholm syndrome, in which pleasure is taken from the mind. So I wonder, how has these acquiescence warped our own perception of ourselves? How has our attitude towards our appearance changed in 2021, in this age of TikTokers, YouTubers, and Instagram influencers? With all my projects, I take one instance of these extreme psychological situations conditioned by our evolving relationship with media and technology as my subject. And I take a deep dive into these fetishes, phobias, and compulsions of our times and restage my findings into constructed situations that challenge the audience expectations in order to stir up those questions from within. Who is the master and who is the slave? What are the psychological and mental health consequences of our relationship with media and tech? Who are we at the end of the day? What's our identity? What role does our avatar and online profile play in that identity construct? Over the last 2 years, I've investigated a handful of these scenarios in 5 projects. From the fear of the cameras, the flashing and clicking sound and its anthropomorphic look standing on a tripod in the multimedia installation Exposure, to the unboxing video trend and the fetish over the packaging, customizability, aesthetics, and experience that can be completely alien to the product itself. The struggle of walking away from your influences and self-projections in search of your own identity in the performance and installation work Atlas. And the price of fame and being trapped in the audience's expectations for anyone living in the public eye. constantly having to live up to and reprise that initial glory in the multimedia installation stage Cage. I've learned a lot over the last 2 years. I want to thank all of you who helped me and pushed me along the way. You know who you are. Thank you.